Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel James II, the host of the Culture Connect, the podcast for the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs. You might ask, how did this podcast get started? Well, with a challenge from our executive director, Dr. Dolores DaCosta, we wanted to highlight the great minority voices across the state of South Carolina. You're going to hear from businessmen and women, farmers, HBCU presidents, and diverse voices across South Carolina that are doing the work every day to make our state more equitable and better for all citizens. Be sure that you subscribe and so that you don't miss the notifications for the next episode of the Culture Connect on all digital platforms. Let's tune into the episode. Listen, family, we have a very special guest in the studio today. He is the owner and operator of Save-A-Lot here on North Dargan, here in Florence, South Carolina. We have none other than Mr. Tim Waters. Mr. Waters, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's been a great day just seeing the store already thus far. And I've been looking to really get to talk to you today. Now, I know that you really fought hard to see this day. And this store, of course, is Black owned, Black operated in the rural South. I guess, how does it feel to see this dream finally come true? And then maybe you can just tell us a little bit of your story for people that don't know it.
Well, the feeling is euphoric. I mean, after you work for something so long and it comes to pass, the Lord gives you this spirit of calmness.
That's right.
And when that spirit of calmness came on, it was like, you know, it's not you don't want to get too boisterous. You want to get too hyped. You just want to, it's just like a calm spirit, because especially when you know that you didn't do it by yourself.
That's right.
There's a tendency for people to reach plateaus and they have this myth that they did it themselves. But when when you know for a fact that the Lord carried you, it gives you the sense of peace and stability. And I got to say, I'm happy. I'm not going to say I'm not. I'm also happy for my son's son, because, you know, to be able to break that generational curse that hits most Black African-American families, you know, I'm glad I'm just one of the pawns to be in the mix.
Good stuff. Now, when we came in and I asked you about how long this journey has been, like when you break ground and what, you know, you sort of went through to get this store right here in a critical part of what I consider downtown Florence, I guess. You said the journey's been since like 2016, or maybe groundbreaking since 2016, but the journey's been, I'm sure, much longer in bringing this to fruition. Tell us about some of the things that you had to go through.
I used to work for a nonprofit, the PD Community Action Agency, and I got that job in 1994. But in 1997, there was a family out of Charleston, the Norwoods. There used to be a steel plant here, and they donated this land to the Community Action Agency. And in 1997, I wanted to start a supermarket, because in 1972, I used to live right across the street from here. And this has always been a blighted area, a real blighted area. And when I started working for the PD Community Action Agency, I tried to write a bunch of grants to put a supermarket, but it never caught on. It never caught on. I was told, this was before downtown even started, before anything happened. All they saw was just a blighted area. And I just kept writing grants. I got turned down it was this grant called a Jolly Grant that went around and it helped low-income areas develop supermarkets. And I got turned down 7 times. Nice. So that means you can only apply for it every year. So I got turned down 7 years in a row.
My goodness.
7 years that grant got turned down. And but I kept the framework. And it's just like, I remember riding my bike, coming here, and writing the name of the store on the ground. And you know, I mean, it was just a struggle. 28 banks turned me down. And when I say 28 banks turned me down, 28 banks turned me down. And now people always ask me, are you 42? Why didn't you quit? Yes, I did. I mean, I would quit at night, and then I'd rehire myself in the morning. I may quit 3 days and rehire myself 3 days. I may quit 60 days and come back and rehire myself, because once God puts something in your heart and he puts it in your heart for the people and it's not about you, whether you want to do it or not, it's going to get done. He's going to give you the fortitude to do it. And it's been a hard journey, but nothing but the Lord made this happen.
That is such a beautiful story, and the credit to that you give to God and to the community that you're in is absolutely inspiring. That writing your name on the ground, you wrote the vision, you made it plain, you waited on it, and it's here now. So I think it's really clear that you're in this for the right reasons. This is not just another capital investment for you. This is real. You really care about the community that's around you. Speaking of, are we technically now, when we were coming here, I was confused a little bit because some say Darlington, some say Dargan Street. Where are we actually situated?
We're actually sitting on 310 North Dargan Street.
Okay.
The reason that is Darlington Street is because this used to be they didn't have a 911 address here.
Right.
So when I started writing my grant, since it took me like 7 years, it used to be Darlington Street. But when they redid 911, it turned to Darlington Street. So now, that's why it's a lot of mix-up. So if you go and Google it, you'll Google two addresses. It'll be 103 Darlington and 310 North Dargan. So
that's right.
That's why the mix-up came in. But technically, and the actual thing is 310 North Dargan Street. However, regardless what you Google, if you Google 103 Darlington, 310 Dargan, it'll bring you here because we're on the corner of Darlington and Darlington.
Dargan and Darlington.
Yes.
That's beautiful. You own both the addresses. So I guess you talked about this generational curse, and one of the articles that I read about, just a story about the store and your story, you talked about breaking generational curse for your son. And people may not really understand. You talked about this being a blighted community, really, but really dig into it, because this is a unique story. We're in the South. We're in the rural South still. Florence is still technically the rural South. We're in downtown Florence, which is a very coveted area. And there are some maybe minority-owned businesses, but this is one of the newest, I feel like, burgeoning Black-owned businesses, and definitely probably the only Black-owned and operated grocery store in downtown. So tell us a little bit about the community that surrounds this store. Why does this store, what generational curse do you talk? You reference food deserts, but what generational curse is it breaking, this store?
In the late 40s, 50s, every town had I guess you call it an African American section, where they said you went and get barber, banking, dentists, doctors, lawyers, tailors, everything was on there. And this section was actually what you call Florence Black Enterprise. On this section of land where we are now, there was a dentist, Dr. Williams, there was a Dr. Beck, there was a tailor, Dr. Kane, Mr. Kane, there was a filling station, Mr. Green, and there was a tailor, Mr. Otis. And it's like the infrastructure is always terrible in Black sections of downtowns, all over. And what happens now is that investors don't want to invest because there's so much infrastructure that you have to repair in order to do that. And it's sort of like, there's always this, and when I say generational curse, I'm reading this book now that says we're 400 years behind in investment. But you got to realize they have an African American, and let me tell you the contents of generational curse. Right now, 400 years ago, me and my son, my granddad and a Caucasian granddad started out with the same thing, a life. Mm-hmm. However, he started out with $10. I started out as a slave. As I broke those chains and came up to where I am, his $10 grew to where now he's about $4 million ahead of me. So just imagine if you and someone want to do something in your family and you want to leave a legacy with your family, and I got $400 million, and I got $40. It's that generational curse that you have to break in a family. Some generational curse comes in the form of alcoholism. Some generational curse comes in the form of crime. Some generational curse comes in the form of just don't care about life. So those are many curses that we have to break within the African American community that sometimes never get broken. And it just so happens that the Lord blessed me. Somebody in my family I don't know who they were or who they were. Somebody prayed, and somebody planted this seed for this store years before I was here, because the things that I had to go through to get here, nothing but the Lord made it happen. I don't confess to be a minister or a preacher, but I got enough sermons. You know what I'm saying? I've been in enough battles to know that where my strength comes from. And it's like, and now they're putting this new curse on us now. Now they're putting a curse of violence, us killing each other. That is a generational curse. You don't just wake up and hurt somebody. There has to be somebody in your family did that. Then it's okay for you to do that. So now it's just a way of breaking this generational curse that is transcended upon community to community. It doesn't matter where you are. There's a family that, that family is known for what? Stealing. There's a family that's known for what? Drinking. There's a family that knows for what? Not being married. However, I wanted to break that curse to make it where the Waters family is being a family of not borrowers, but lenders. And, we're here now.
You definitely have a great testimony and a great story too. I guess I distinctly remember in middle school, I went to Williams Middle, which is right down the street.
Okay.
And when I was in middle school, I had a conversation with my mom about why fruits and vegetables are so much more expensive than maybe a Happy Meal. And we talked about that decision and how that even the decision between fast food and fruits and vegetables are often a decision that a lot of families in food deserts, but also just in low-income areas have to make. It seems almost basic. You can't live without, it seems, fruit and vegetables in your diet, but so many families have to because of the cost of things. What is your store, being here in this food desert, which maybe you can define a little bit more, like what that is for the audience that may not know, like what does your store offer to help fill that in? Because if the fruits and vegetables are here but they still as expensive as going to Food Line across town in the white wealthy neighborhood, then it might not be as good of an investment. But tell us.
Well, a food desert is where you lack access to food. And believe it or not, in the great United States, especially when the pandemic came, it really showed us how much we like access to food. There were people that had 4 and 5 figure salaries, now had to stand in line to get access to food and vegetables. And it's kind of like it goes all the way back to that generational curse. Master would kill the hogs and give us the inside of the hogs, and that became our palate. I asked my nephew, would you like some butternut squash for Christmas? He said, what is butternut squash? Butternut squash sat on our Thanksgiving table as a decoration, not knowing that you could cook it and eat it and it was healthy. So giving people access to fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables are health. Heart disease, diabetes. The doctor can give you 30 pills to take care of your heart disease. He can give you 30 pills for diabetes. But if you started eating 5 or 6 apples or oranges a month, then that's nature's way of keeping your body right. That's why I wanted to bring it into this neighborhood, so that I can give the common folks who couldn't afford the fruits and vegetables to keep it at a low cost, and make it accessible.
That's good. What's that cost difference between?
Well, let's put it this way. If you want to get a Happy Meal costs maybe about $4 or $5 right now. That's unhealthy meal. I don't want to harp on McDonald's, but Kentucky Fried Chicken, 5 for $5, unhealthy. Wendy's, Biggie Bag is the worst thing you could eat during lunch, because that's a bag of saturated fat. So now, but I want you to give you some carrots, some fruits, some vegetables. And if you come here, I can give you some fruits and vegetables for maybe about $2.30, because I outsource locally. I get a lot of my fruits and vegetables local. I got MacB peaches. I get greens from Timminsville. I got some greens from Olanta. A lot of my stuff is outsourced local. I drive all the way to Georgia to pick up some rutabagas, just so I can make sure that, just to keep the price down and make sure that I'm offering those fruits and vegetables at a cost that's affordable for the community.
Goodness, that's beautiful. And I'm glad to see that that's being taken in action. And, we're going to get to talk a little bit about now just, the commission of course, is the Commission for Minority Affairs, that is a research agency that wants to connect minority communities to resources like your grocery store, jobs, education, housing, food as well. The reality, I feel like, is that one store, your store, as great as the work you're doing, you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
It's a model and that has to be replicated across a lot of food deserts. You might not be able to fill the food desert that's in, Marion, that used to have a Save-A-Lots too, or, all these other areas. What do you think needs to be done from a model standpoint to ensure that no community goes hungry?
Well, it's such as your agency, it's advocacy. If you don't have someone on a state level, a national level, and a local level that's an advocate for your program, I'll give you a prime example. The COVID had these grants called, they were grants that they gave out for for-profit businesses. They gave you up to $25,000 that you can apply for as a for-profit business, where you can now, unlike PPP loans that were based on the number of employees you had, these came out just based on, I'm gonna give you $25,000 to get your business going, a grant that you don't have to pay back. Okay, I applied for this grant, but I was turned down. And I was like, well, I got in contact with Dr. DaCosta's office, and she was like, well, Tim, why did they turn you down? I said, well, I don't know. So when I got in contact with Dr. DaCosta's in her office, what she did was she found out that I was turned down because of the way I did my taxes. And what happened was the system automatically kicked me out and said I did not file taxes. But what happens is, as many entrepreneurs, we use our social security number, and then we use our business, we file a self-employment. So that means you put your business tax ID number in your 420. That means that it's filed differently. So when the system came in, the system didn't see that I had a business. The system only saw me as a self-employed person, an individual. You can't get a grant as an individual. So Dr. DaCosta went to them and said, no, he has a business. He started an application. He has an EIN number. This is his number. Don't use his taxes, use his EIN number. When she found that out, she found out that they funded me, but they also turned down 720 applicants because of that glitch. And once she was able to go in there and find out that that's not the case, there were 700 other businesses that had an opportunity to get funded that had it not been for her office, had it not been for her tenacity, had it not been for her saying, hey, this is not right, I probably would have missed out on that funding. And that funding was paramount because I didn't qualify for any PPP loans because I didn't have any employees. Then I was in the middle of building and the building stopped building. So here I am making loan payments, making living payments without any income during the pandemic. So now you tell me that ain't nothing but the Lord.
That's good.
I'm telling you. So the advocacy that your office does, and people don't realize advocacy until it touches them. They think that, oh, these people don't do anything. But when that thing touches your business and touches your life, and you got people in that office that generally care, and it's not about they look like you. Because Dr. Costa don't care who you are. She's gonna help you regardless. And that's paramount, not only through her, but it trickles down to her staff. I've met some people in her staff that have genuinely care about what's going on in our community.
That's right. Advocacy. That's the word for today. Advocacy, resources. I think that's a really powerful story too. And I think there are hopefully a lot of business owners that listen to this episode and maybe think maybe I should connect with the commission or maybe to connect with anybody that could help them get those same resources. 720 business, that's a lot of business owners. That's a lot of potential growth. That's a lot of potential economic impact that we're missing. So hats off to you as well for connecting with the commission. At the end of the day, I feel like you're an entrepreneur, and I feel like you had to be very persistent in your establishment of this store. What lessons have you learned? You talked about advocacy, resources. What lessons have you learned as an entrepreneur that might help somebody that's in the same position as you are that might want to start a business?
Well, one of the things is that one of the reasons why also the city of Florence, you got to link up with the municipalities and try to get them to help you as well, because 80% of what happens here is the city of Florence. The city of Florence, and they believed in this project, and they they really wanted to see happen. And it's kind of ironic that when I started this business, when I started it to try to do this business plan and work with the city of Florence, I wasn't sent there I wanted to find out why they were turning down so many African Americans. Because the city of Florence, and they had this TIF district, which is a tax incentive fund, and they gave out like $150 million worth of development. But they didn't give out $150 worth of development to us. We only got one person. So out of $150 million, we got maybe 210,000. So, and I was like, well, that's not right. So I went there, I enrolled in I enrolled in the program, and I didn't go to enroll to get help. I enrolled to find out what's going on, why they're not doing it. But a funny thing happened when I got there. It wasn't that they weren't giving any money out to any minorities. You have to put your plan together. You have to, if I can tell one business owner that's looking at this, you have to put your plan together. You have to write your plan down. You have to put down in paper and pencil and say, this is what I want to do. This is the money I want. This is what I want to do with the money. This is how I'm going to pay you back. This is how I'm going to pay this. This is who I'm going to hire. This is how I'm going to do my taxes. This is the profit margin. This is the market. This is the market in my side of town. This is the market in South Carolina. This is the market in Oregon that is a similar neighborhood mix that I have. You have to have all that, and you have to know that like the back of your hand. You can't, because who's going to give you some money that you can't tell people what you're going to do with it or how you're going to do it. So there's this myth that I get people come to me all the time. Write me a grant so I can sell something. First of all, when you tell me to write you a grant so you can make some money, automatically you don't know what you're talking about. You just need to quit right there, because that's not what grants are for. Grants are for to provide a service. If you want to start a business, you have to either use your own money or you have to borrow some money from somebody else, or somebody have to give you some money. That's just plain and simple. And I'm not gonna, if there are some business people that are gonna see this, I'm gonna show you something real quick. This is my business plan for my store.
Wow.
When I started writing this, and this is my business plan.
That's a book.
This is my business plan. This is what I had to do to convince these people to give me the supermarket. So whoever's out there that's trying to do their business plan and think them people playing, you got to make sure you tell them people what you're talking about. And you know what? And say I got over $7.5 million of grants funding.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let's break it down. My credit score today is 420. When I started this, I only had maybe $40 in the bank. But let me tell you something, when you write down and you tell people what you want to do and you ain't playing, you'd be surprised with this right here. Broke down barriers that I couldn't go. I'd go and put it on somebody's desk and let them get into it. And I'm talking about, I ain't playing, I'm talking about getting down.
Me too.
Not no getting down. I'm talking about getting down. You know how they say the doctoral thesis? This is my doctoral thesis on supermarket. And that's how I got funded.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I mean, I just know that somebody's going to look at this maybe 5 years from now, and they're going to want to say, well, how did he do it? It ain't no rocket science. You got to put in the work. Sorry about that.
No, I believe that. And there's so many people that have good ideas, and the gap, like you said, is advocacy, resource, but also education, knowing what to do. And sometimes just, maybe it's a seminar that you missed that talked about that, or I don't know, hearing this interview and not having, now they got the knowledge, okay, I actually do have to put it to paper. I think historically, marginalized identities and people that are minorities have been refused education. We aren't in that day anymore. Where would you say to go to get the resources, knowledge, or information that they might need? What helped you?
The internet.
The internet.
If you don't, the internet is, I know there are a lot of, the internet consists of more of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Most of the African American community, they think the internet, they think Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But there are a plethora of resources, seminars, college. There are just a plethora of things. I enrolled in this incubator downtown Florence. The Francis Marion University had an incubator where they incubated people and tried to help them. And when they incubated people and tried to help them, I just enrolled in that program. And I took I took maybe 3 years of seminars, IRS taxes. You know who does my taxes? The IRS.
Wow.
People say like, why would you want the IRS to get in your business? Well, duh. Who else knows taxes but the IRS? You know, the South Carolina Revenue Office. You know, those are the people that told me how to do my taxes, taught me how to do my business plan. And I'll be remiss without remissing Brianna Dennis. She is a developer of the program that I went through that really helped me. Mm-hmm. But you know, I drove to Columbia for 2.5 years and worked as a busboy in the Save-A-Lot on Hardin Street. They didn't know I was trying to open a store up. I went there and I just worked from the bottom up, man. I drove for 2.5 years to Hardin Street, right near Benedict, and I found out what Save-A-Lot's worked and found out what's happening. So when I opened the store, I had a sense of what to do before I got started. In addition to writing your plan, you need to go work in the business that you want to do. And they say, well, nobody won't mentor me. Well, if nobody won't mentor you, go work at where you want to go. Volunteer your time. You want to sell cars? Go volunteer. You want to do hair? Go sweep up a shop. You want to learn how to cut meat? Go work someplace. You know, there's a tendency that we are entitlement, but our ancestors picked us up from the bootstrap. I have a poster behind me. This poster right here is so powerful to me because I keep this up to remind me that you can't do it by yourself. You have to surround yourself with people. Some of these people are more noteworthy than others. But guess what? All of them in the picture. You don't have to be, most people see this, the first person they see, I see Jim Brown. I see Muhammad Ali. I see Cassius Clay. But guess what? Name somebody on the back row. It's hard to do that. Right. It's hard to do that. I don't even know some of the people on the back row. I have to look them up and look them up. But guess what? They're at the table and they're learning. We have a tendency to want to do stuff. We want everything to be given to us. It doesn't work like that. Not in America.
Wow. That's powerful. That's a powerful story. 2.5 years as a busboy. 2.5
years driving back and forth to Columbia. I would drive there and come back every night. They didn't know. They was like, you crazy? Why would you want to drive? But I learned how to, I learned the margins in the store. I learned what geek was. I learned how to take I don't throw any of my products away. I learned a markdown corner. What's a markdown corner? I'll show you that. A markdown corner is where you take stuff that's about to go out of date and you mark it down. You don't throw any away because everything you got in the grocery store, you already paid for it.
That's right.
So even if you got a penny for your dollar, you made some money.
That's good. That's so good, Mr. Waters. So what testimonies or stories have people come back and said about the impact of the store on their lives, or what stories really move your heart?
There was a Save-A-Lot in Dillon. There was a Save-A-Lot in Marion. There was a Save-A-Lot in Hartsfield. There was a Save-A-Lot in Sumter. And all those Save-A-Lots closed down. And the greatest thing is that I get customers from each one of those towns that come here and tell me how good it looks, how they miss it, and how they come and shop. I'm gonna say something that people don't want to hear. I get more business outside of Florence than I do from people that's in Florence.
Wow.
I get more people from people that don't look like me. I'll do it like we always do. That people that don't look like me, then look like me.
Wow.
And it's just that, and I don't want to say that to be like a down or anything, but the truth is welcome. Once you get into business, you're gonna find out that the people who you thought were gonna support you aren't gonna support you. It's gonna be people out there that you don't know. So instead of you basing your business development on people that are surrounding you, you better find somebody who's doing something that you may not know anything about. There's a lady that comes from Hartsfield, and she drives her mother, and every month they spend $620 with the groceries. Every month. And I asked her, I said, why do you come? She says, because first of all, there are 3 things you're gonna get at Save-A-Lot here. We're gonna be clean, our price is gonna be low, and we're gonna be friendly. Those are things that you can control. If you can control those things within your business, you'll be surprised.
That's so good. And I must say, even because I've been to the Save-A-Lot, one of the Save-A-Lots that you mentioned that closed down, it didn't have the family atmosphere and the clean this is a beautiful edifice.
Thank you.
So keep up the good work. I'm really excited about it. You talked about your son's son's son. What are you doing to, I guess, pass it on? Who's going to be to whoever the next Tim Waters is, and passing on to the next generations? Because I know working in a grocery store, like that's a good like teen job, a good job for like young people to learn just practical things about service and customer service. So
I already have my plan of succession down, meaning that I already planned out if something happens to me, who's going to take my shares, who's going to do that. And someone say, well, why would you have a plan of succession? You better have a plan of succession because you don't plan to be here forever. Right. What's the use of me building this wealth and not be able to pass it on?
That's right.
So, and I always work with youth. I always keep them in there because youth is the key to whatever I do. I used to work this place called the Weed and Seed, and I'm on my 4th generation of kids that I'm trying to pour myself into. And I've created teachers, principals, doctors, lawyers, pastors, janitors, truck drivers, sanitation workers, but one thing they got, and I always taught them, no matter what you do, you are somebody.
That's right. Mr. Waters, you dropped so many gems today. I think your story is just so impactful, and I think it is far-reaching. I learned a lot of things myself today about hard work. That thesis you got over there, do you think it's worth it? Was it worth it?
Yeah, because what it did was, it was worth it because somebody's gonna be inspired, man. Somebody's gonna look at this 10 years from now, and they're gonna be at a point where they wanna quit. And they're gonna look at it and say, you know what? If he did it, I can do it. And that's the whole thing. You gotta be able to pass it on.
That's good. Listen, are there any sort of, as we wrap it up, are there any things that you want to leave, any final gems that you haven't already given us? Anything that you want to leave with the audience today, Mr. Waters?
The one thing I can say is, well, I guess if I want to leave with you, the one thing I would like to say is this, and I use this as my metaphor for entrepreneurs. You can't get no money like that right there. If your hand closed, you can't get no money. And there's a myth in the African-American community that whatever you got, you keep. You don't share it. You don't tell people how you did something. You don't tell a person how you got a loan. You don't tell a person who's the accountant to go to. You don't tell a person where the money is at. You don't tell a person what you did to make it. But the only way you can get something, because you can't get nothing unless your hand's closed. So the more you give, the more you can open up your hands and give.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful lesson. Beautiful lesson. Thank you so much, Mr. Waters, for talking to me today. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Of course.
Thank you.
Till next time, everybody. See you later. Did you enjoy the episode? I hope you did. Be sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and connect with us on all digital platforms so you don't miss the next episode of the Culture Connect. We'll see you next time, everybody.
At the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs, we believe the state's rich culture and history lies in the diversity of its people. Through research and relationships, cultural awareness, and increased opportunities, we're working to help all ethnic minorities achieve economic prosperity. Our network of community and state partners enables us to achieve more, which helps our communities to be stronger together. To learn how we serve you, visit cma.sc.gov.